Hello, friends. Welcome back to another game review. This time I will be talking about a game that I might get some comments about. And I love talking to you guys, and this will be a fun conversation to have below. This one will be Monster Hunter World. Um, the reason I bring up this game is because, particularly right now, is because I played through it a ton. I love that game actually. I kind of maybe over time downplayed how much I enjoyed it, but it was a game that I kept going back to. So I must have really liked it, and I really do. I really love the Monster Hunter stuff. Um, Monster Hunter World was the first of the Monster Hunter series I had played. Came out in 2019, I think 2018. I think 2018 sounds properly right. Let me give you those exact things here. I do have it on my good old fashioned Steam page here. Let's see. But Monster Hunter World over here, let me go to store page, came out on August 9th. I was right, August 9th, 2018. So late into 2018, I thought it came out like January or something. It was, of course, produced and published by Capcom. Uh, the reason why I pertainingly said that you're gonna likely have comments in the comment section is because Monster Hunter World was the first one I played with the Monster Hunter series. I was kind of drawn in by friends who were playing it at the time. Um, there was a demo and everything, and I tried it out, and I was like, man, this game is so fun. I learned about there's like crafting systems and stuff for new weapons, and you have to kill the monster, take the parts, make the new weapons. I was like, oh my god, this game sounds so cool. Weapons look different, the armor looks different. You make with things. It was amazing. Um, I then found out there was have been a whole host of Monster Hunter games before World. I figured that already. I think I heard Monster Hunter as a name a few times before World came out, but I never played them. I do know from friends that Monster Hunter before World was a much harder experience than Monster Hunter World was. Monster Hunter World was definitely more tuned to trying to bring in a demographic that's not normally plays the hard games. I think it did it well. I think it did it pretty solid. But I will give anyone who has played the old ones a lot of merit. You did experience a way harder game. You are far superior in gaming than I am, for that matter. But Monster Hunter World is a game where you're brought into pretty much they call it the New World. It's a big open area. People are kind of researching it. It's a really fun premise, I think, for a game where I promise the fun premise is not because you just kill things. I promise it's not. You can capture monsters in this game rather than killing them. You will get different parts depending on if you capture or kill. But the main thing is that the whole thing is that you're just curious people. Sometimes monsters do get a little out of hand and start going about in areas that are populated or something. But for the most part, they are by themselves, and your whole thing is just trying to research them. I think that's the really cool part. The game isn't trying to be something that it's not. It's not trying to be like, oh my god, here's this crazy story of my father who in the past did it or something. No, you're just a guy or girl that just came to this world and wanted to, look at cool monsters. And unfortunately, you're the one that's the big, strong one that takes them out usually. So, um, pretty much as you go throughout the game, not really spoilers except for like the very last thing. Uh, Throughout the game, you go through a whole host of monsters that you can come across. They range from weak, even small, like kind of monsters that are meant to just be kind of more area fillers. They do have their purpose of having smaller parts that are used for certain things, but um, most of the time you will be trying to go for the big monsters, and that's a really cool thing to me. I love huge monsters. You will likely hear throughout my time in gaming, but I love giant monsters because they're just so cool. For one, um, the thing I've heard mainly from Monster Hunter World is that people don't like the fact that it kind of muddied the monster kinds there are. Usually, from what I heard from the old Monster Hunter games, is that they had wild arrangements of monsters. You had bugs, crabs, snails, like snakes, like crazy things. Primantises, I think, at one point, which is another bug. But uh, this one kind of muddied down and went to the dragon route a lot more often than it should have. There's a couple interesting ones in there. Definitely a few very interesting ones, I should say, but most of them you're going to be interacting with is either like a dinosaur or a dragon or something like that. Kind of something you'd expect. Um, Otherwise, I loved everything about the game. You go into your match, you pick up a mission from your handler. It's someone who kind of organizes everything for you, so you just go on missions and don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. People think the handler is annoying as hell in this game. I could see why they think that. I don't really find her that annoying, but I could see why people find her annoying. But pretty much you get your mission from them. You can go about handling it two different ways. Now, granted, some missions require you to kill, some missions also require you to capture. So you'll have to keep in that. If it just says hunt, you can either kill or capture. As you go in, there'll be about, I want to say, you have a range of about 12 to, I think, 12 to 15 different weapon types to go about taking on things. Now, this isn't going to be me ranking weapons worst to best or anything like that. I will tell about my experiences. My first weapon I primarily played with was the dual blades. I like them, they're really cool. Super fast kind of weapons. You go into this like stance that makes you like really quick. They're really cool, but I got to a point where I really couldn't get past a certain monster with the dual blades. It might have been just how they like acted and everything. I just couldn't beat them with them. That actually ended up making me take a bit of a break before returning to Monster Hunter. And after that long of a break I took, I was like, I can't go back to my old save because I'm like either just not going to know what's going on or I just will feel so rusty. So I restarted again just to get a handle on things. I then traded weapons and switched for the hammer. The hammer is probably your biggest weapon in the game for damage. Is your slowest weapon in the game as well. It is very wind uppy. I love the hammer though. I'm one of those people who really enjoy just the big bonks and everything like that. Um, you have a whole host of other weapons. You have a great sword. Think of like Cloud Sword from Final Fantasy. You have a kind of a long sword, which is a huge katana, a sword and shield. I've heard from many people tends to be kind of the lowest bearing one of the whole batch, but some people might like it. You never know. It looks cool too sometimes. Um, then you'll have things like a lance, which is your shield and lance, which is a real defensive and slow one. A gun lance, which is similar to the lance, but you have the big barrel gun on it. That's really cool. I like it a lot. You have, I'm trying to go through all these weapons, thinking of them. Yeah, the glaive, the insect glaive. That thing is super acrobatic and really had its place in world pretty solidly because you can, when you're jumping all high in the air like that, if you hit a monster from the top, you'll typically mount it, and that means you can push it around, kind of move it to places, and make it run into things or other monsters. And from what I've heard, that was the big thing World did, was it took out kind of these loading screens inside the world, and so now you had this just big one open world for a few different locales. So you had about 5 locales in the game, and it was just one big open world for there. You can have up to 3 monsters in a world, and then they can interact with each other in Monster Hunter World. I'm sure they could have a little bit in the old ones, but in this one you see it a lot where they'll have turf wars, they'll attack each other on often. You see it more in Rise now, but I did see it a fair bit back then too. Um, the main drive of this game, by the way, for those of us that aren't like big into just the kill monster thing, is every monster gives you unique weapons and armors. If you're a collector, of anything in game, you'll know that that's one of the biggest drives of any gamer is having different things for everything that you can come across. Beautiful. It's the most wonderful thing in a game. I think I love doing that kind of stuff. Is just collecting things like that. Um, a quick tip, I think, for developers, if anyone will listen. I'm sorry, I know I'm a lowly little guy, but if you'll just hear me out, if you're gonna make a game like that where you collect a bunch of different armors, I know you can sell them, but you know me, I'm collecting them. Armors and weapons. Give me a place to put everything, like visually place it. I don't think like because it can be on your chest and you can all look inside your chest and see everything you've collected and put it on from there. But I want a space in my room in game where I can put all the armors throughout the entire game, collect every single piece of armor, collect every weapon. You do that, by the way. You do that kind of thing where you put a place where I can have everything and it's like a good spot for everything. Like say I have a whole wall for all the dual blades in the game. I'm gonna put 2,000 hours into your game. I will do it. I the sense of actually progressing and collecting things is by far one of the my biggest drives in any video game ever. So I'm just a little tip there. A little tip, please. Otherwise, the world is amazing to interact with. Your hub world, you interact with a few different things. Oh my god, I forgot to talk about them. You get a sidekick in the game. They're called palicos. Cats. They are cats. They are not cat people. They are not. They are a bit more intelligent than normal cats, but they are cats. It was the smartest decision to ever make for a video game. Capcom, when you started making Monster Hunter, you struck gold with the idea of making a cat your companion. Now, also in Rise, they give you dogs. So if you're that part you like it, you'll have to play Rise. But you play with Palicos, they have different aspects that you can kind of lean them towards. Mainly, they're just your support. Mainly, they'll help you out with things. They'll heal you sometimes. They'll draw attention sometimes. They're wonderful. You can also fully customize. It's a pretty intensive customization for your character and your cat. So if you're one of those people that really enjoy making like the pinpoint kind of character, it's one of those kind of games. So I do heavily recommend it for that as well. Also the food, by the way. You should eat before, you don't have to, but you should eat before every mission. That way you get a good boost in your health and stamina. The food looks delicious. I'm not kidding. It also looks like it should feed 15 people and you eat it by yourself. So, and I understand why you're like a super athlete in this world pretty much. So you need like all that protein and nutrition and such. But pretty much a wonderful game. You want to sink a solid 100 plus hours into something and look at some cool stuff, I do recommend it heavily. I will give it an 8 out of 10. It's a wonderful game. It does have a DLC as well, which is Iceborne, bring you to a more snowy locale, which is not in the main game, but you know, it does add some pretty cool monsters too to that one. So I do recommend if you do get the regular one, you get Iceborne. But I do give it an 8 out of 10. It's a pretty solid game. I do enjoy it a lot. I will quickly give you guys, of course, the normal price. Oh my god, I had it up before even thinking. Typically, the base game is going to be $30. I think that's reasonable at all this time. After about 4 years, I do think $30 is reasonable for it. It is on sale for $15 as of this post. For about 2 days. Now, granted, you're probably going to want to get the Iceborne one, at least the regular Iceborne one. That's about $25, normally $50 at the moment. And then they range from a couple other ones, but really you just want the Iceborne one. That way you just get the DLC. I don't think you necessarily need anything else. They do come with a lot of cosmetics, but um, just get the DLC. There's 200 cosmetic things in this game. Just don't worry about the cosmetics. You're gonna be wearing armor anyway. Anyway, As always, I'd like to ask you to like and comment if you have played the game. What weapon did you use? That's the big question to ask. And also, you make a cool palico or a really silly looking one. Um, did you use a hammer like me? I'm sure people hate it. A lot of people hate the hammer. People who use the hammer, I should say, because you interrupt people all the time with it. I'm sorry. We do. I'm sorry. Um, if you haven't played it, did I encourage you guys to play it? Does it sound fun to you? I'm sorry for any of those who love just creatures and think it's bad that you're hunting big creatures like that. They are literally in their usual own habitat, doing their own thing. I'm sorry. Yes, I feel bad for them too, but I want my new armor and weapons and stuff. So unfortunately, for a virtual video game, I will have to be hunting them. But anyways, as always, I like to ask you to subscribe as well. If you do, I think you're wonderful. If you don't, I still think you're wonderful, so it's completely up to you. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.